Hello, my name is Darcy, and I worked on a musical called Nine as the head electrician, programmer, and operator. This production was staged in the National Institute of Dramatic Arts NIDA Parade Theatre, a large multi-purpose theatrical venue. The show followed the life of an Italian filmmaker as he slowly descended into despair, destroying the relationships he established with his friends, wife, and colleagues. As a result of the lead character being a filmmaker, the visual design of the show centered around a film set. Mia McCormack's set design achieved this by the lack of masking, revealing all of the overhead bars, lighting booms, speakers, and video elements to create the look of a film set. The role of lighting on this production was quite varied. It needed to maintain the traditional qualities of a musical, while also contributing to the visual aesthetic of this film set world. It also needed to ensure the video was clearly visible throughout most of the performance. The projector used was a Christie D20WU-HS. It was located on the Gallery 1 lighting rail with a long throw lens. We had 3 venue standard PTZ cameras that were used throughout the performance as IMAG onto the screen behind the performance. Additionally, there was a PTZ camera rigged on the overhead lighting bars that provided a bird's eye view of the stage. This shot was used mainly in the beginning of the musical for the opening number, where the performers are seen moving 9 flats around and on and off the revolve, encircling and trapping the Italian filmmaker Guido Contini in the centre. 2 watchout servers were used for video playback and switching, in combination with the Blackmagic Design ATEM 2ME Production Studio 4K. The output was then projected onto a large 13-metre diagonal screen on upstage, using a Panasonic projector mounted above the audience's heads. This created a big challenge for the lighting team due to the wide opening that was necessary for the projector to shoot through the air and hit the projection surface. There was discussion on using a rear projector setup. However, there wasn't enough budget or space backstage to implement this feasibly without removing the sound wall, which is crucial for this venue's acoustic performance. As a result, the 9 overhead lighting bars trim height was around 11.4 metres to 13.5 metres high, enough that it was clear of obstructing the projection. Consequently, this removed the ability to focus lights using a traditional uplift or vertical lift. "21 static ECL 2K Fresnels were used over the stage in combination with 15 fusion pars that were the workhorse of the stage wash. Many hours were dedicated to bounce focusing the static fixtures, such as the fusion pars encircling the revolve. Due to the bounce focus, no other activities could go on at the same time on stage, as we needed to bring in multiple lines at once. This ended up blocking most of the stage. It also required multiple fly operators and crew to focus the fixtures, then fly the bars in and fly them back out, and fly them in and fly them out as many times as we needed until we had a solid focus. The abnormally high trim height meant that we needed to rely on movers to create a customizable rig for specials during tech sessions. As a result, the lighting designer Tom Hamilton landed on the following fixtures: Ayrton Diablos, which provided a good range of zoom for the height at which they were flown to; ETC Lone Stars, which are not as common in Sydney as other Ayrton or Martin fixtures. However, they also had a good zoom range. They did, however, struggle with their light output, especially when we used CMY colour mixing. Spiders. The spiders were placed in a circle around the revolve in addition to the fusion par wash. This allowed for a more precise wash on the revolve, and change the size of it depending where the cast were standing on the revolve. They also proved to be a great fixture for their tight, narrow and punchy beam. They were also used for eye candy effects in musical numbers such as Folie Bergère. EK lighting and Acme mini beam washers provided versatility, especially when we needed multiple specials on stage at once. For example, at the end of Be Italian, each performer was lit in their own isolated spot. I was pleasantly surprised by the Acme fixtures and their fast, quiet operation, which are both critical in theatrical productions like this one. ECL CT profiles were used on the panorama bars for side light. Their trim height was also incredibly high, leading to a less than perfect focus. This worked out alright, as there was no set or masking that the light would hit and cast unearthly shadows or bright spots on stage. Finally, ETC Luster 3s were used on the front of house catwalks for face light. They were orientated about 45 degrees out rather than front onto the stage to provide more texture and not to flatten the faces of the cast members and set elements on stage. The use of haze was tricky to balance, especially due to the unique haze's thick output. To combat this, we utilised fans to push the air up into the fly tower and, as the haze cooled, let it fall back down to the stage. This seemed to make us go through about a quarter of a bottle of haze fluid each performance. However, it severely helped to create an even layer of atmospheric across the stage. Furthermore, the venue standard projector struggled with lumen output, causing the lights to be used at a maximum intensity of 40% to ensure the video elements could be seen at all times. This posed a challenge for some musical numbers where bright saturated colours were used with lots of haze, restricting the ability for the video to be clearly seen. To add to the world of the film set, we utilised a LS600D on a wheelable C-stand to manoeuvre around the set and be used in different parts of the show. The issue we had with this fixture was the lack of dimming control. As environmental sustainability coordinator on this production, I recognised the crucial need to create a more sustainable production. As a result, the lighting department was able to purchase over 1,300 reusable electrical tape alternatives called rubber ties, toggles. These toggles and rubber ties can be used over and over again, and are a good use for all cables except multi-core cables such as Wieland. I am glad to have been able to add these toggles to NIDA stock to reduce the reliance on PVC tapes for this production and future productions down the line. Before we purchased these rubber ties, we found it cheaper to actually purchase them once off and use them 3 or 4 times instead of using consumable electrical tape for each show. One ETC Geo at 5 with a motorised fader wing and 2 vertical external touchscreen monitors were used. The vertical monitors allowed for more presets, cue list information and patch information to be seen at once. One console was placed as a backup next to the main operating console and primary RoboSpot, allowing me, the LX operator, to jump onto it if the primary console failed for any reason. It also allowed the RoboSpot operator to see the cue list to take their own cues when necessary. Talking about the RoboSpots, we had a total of 2 being used. The primary RoboSpot operator was situated next to the operating console in the lighting bio box at the back of the stalls. Furthermore, we placed another RoboSpot controller on stage, specifically downstage, prompt side or stage left. This was critical as the crew member was a hybrid mic technician for pre-show and for, during the show, a follow spot operator and floor electrician. They too had a view of the cue list, mirroring the backup console. We had both controllers hooked up to the Robe T2 profiles on the front of house truss. Using RoboSpots allowed us to have precise control over the colour, size, beam, and set a maximum intensity from the console to ensure the projection screen was never blown out by the domes. We had 6 2000 watt Fresnels on droppers that were flown in for sequences such as the Grand Canal to add colour to the set and cast. Furthermore, they helped craft the visual of a film set. These were suspended using steel wire droppers. Initially it was discussed to use scaff, but this idea was quickly shut down due to the possibility of the scaff pole slipping and rolling the flybar, causing issues with the focus for other fixtures along the bar. It also would have made it incredibly difficult to bring in the bar if it was a single piece of scaff. At least with this idea, someone could hold the fixture on the floor, ensuring that they weren't going to mess up the barn doors and things like that, therefore not affecting the focus and not needing to refocus the fixtures when we flew the bars back out. Due to the revolve, the footlights had to be placed on a lip that overhung the orchestra pit. The birdies were limited in their use and intensity, as the desired effect was to provide a warm glow and add to the show-esque vibes of the number Folie Pagere. We had to use incandescent birdies, as the LED ones we tested did not dim smoothly enough, and also created flicker issues that could be seen on the projection screen behind. The most upstage corridor remained closed at the top of the show. The cast then operated 9 flats on wheels to reveal the characters. A single strip of RGBW tape was used as face light, partnered with 2 booms on wheels either side. These booms were then taken out in the show for Folie Pagere to create a blinding backlight effect. The rest of the booms, upstage to downstage, 3 either side, were ECL Psych 100 fixtures, which were used to create a wide wash of stage light. The fixtures had a nice smooth dimming curve on them, however if we wanted them to snap off, they would still fade to black over 3 seconds, which made snap blackouts not feasible. The mixing console used was an Allen & Heath D-Live S5000, operated from the stalls. Each performer had a ULX-D TX belt pack, totaling to 26 for the cast with 4 spares. Jag headset and hairline mics were used on the performance. Speaker arrays were comprised of the JBL VT4886 boxes. There were 3 clusters of 3 for left and right to aim into the different levels of seating, the stalls, Gallery 1 and Gallery 2. There was 1 centre cluster with 4 JBL cardioid subs and 9 JBL VT4886 boxes. All of these speaker cabinets were passive speakers connected into crown amplifiers. Additional floor fills were placed along the downstage line of the stage. The pit band was mic'd using a bunch of different mics. They also used the Allen & Heath personal monitor mixers for each band member in the pit. QSC K10.2 active speakers were used on either pano bar for foldback for the cast on stage. To read more about this production, check out the links in the video description. Please feel free to ask any questions about the project below. Have a good one and thanks for watching.